Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I want to say thank you for the comments that I've received on the other videos. Um, I really appreciate the dialogue and the information that you provide, and I'm hoping that this channel is not just me talking to you, but that it's truly a dialogue, that it becomes a community, and that we share with each other and we encourage each other and we grow. I mean, I like to believe that I'm a lifetime learner, and I love to teach, but I also love to learn. And there's a lot going on in this world. It's so fast that it's hard to even keep up. And my hope is to pull out some of the more important things for you to help you stay centered in God so that you have peace no matter what's going on, because there is our adversary is out there trying to make us afraid. They want us to be in chaos. And if we stay in the Word, if we support each other, if we share information, we have a much better chance of overcoming this. And the overcomers are rewarded in the millennial kingdom and in heaven. So thank you. And I did post a short walkabout in the garden. There's not a whole lot going on out there right now, but in the comment section, I gave some more information on the type of roses that I couldn't remember and that type of thing. Back to the drones. So supposedly one has crashed, and, they're now more orbs, and they're being, film is being shot from aircraft at them. And I'm going to go back to what I was saying before. First of all, I do not believe in UFOs. I do not believe there's another universe. I just don't believe it. It's not supported by the Bible. It just, there might be other universes out there, but I do not believe there's life out there that's watching us or any of that garbage. Now, what they're calling UFOs, being fallen angels, absolutely. If you go back to the time of Noah, if you go back to the time of Lot, you go back to David, the Nephilim, they were fallen angels that had relations with the women and created Nephilim. And the flood was to get rid of them, but they were still around afterwards. So somehow, some way, they either came back or they never left. I mean, I've heard some even say that they were hidden away on the ark somewhere. I don't know. But I think they're still around. And I think they're walking amongst us. And, there's even, if you go back, in the history of Paul Bunyan, there was a Canadian logger that had 2 rows of teeth. Well, that's what the Nephilim had. So they were in North America. If you listen to L.A. Marzulli, he has evidence of them in South America and North America. I mean, and the Smithsonian had skeletons that were like 9 foot tall. So I believe they exist. I believe what we are calling UFOs and aliens and all of that are fallen angels. And do they have technology that's above us? Absolutely. The other thing I think we need to be really, really watchful of is the new software that Google has called Willow. They're saying that it went into another dimension. Well, it's possible. I think CERN is trying to get into another dimension. I think the Vatican's trying to get into another dimension, and the Vatican's all of a sudden going, having financial problems and is having bankruptcy, things, and then they want to open up portals into another dimension. You gotta ask yourself what's going on. You really do. And this Pope is not Christian. I don't know what remember, the demons know about Jesus. They knew his name. They talked to him. They knew who he was. The demonic world knows scripture. They probably know it better than most of us. They believe in Jesus, but they don't have faith in him. They don't put their salvation in his hands. They don't put their life in their hands. And that's where the difference is. So don't be like, well, huh? The demons believe in Jesus? Yeah, of course they do. Look at the Bible. What did Legion say? called Jesus by name and said, it's, please send us into the pigs. And he did. And the pigs went into the water and they died. And the one demon that said, it's not my time yet. So I believe that the demonic is absolutely present in this world, that New Age and all of that summons demons, that it's very dangerous, and that you need to make sure you don't have any of that in your house. And that your house is sanctified to God. It's not anything to play around with. Don't let your kids watch Harry Potter. Don't let them play Ouija boards or tarot cards or any of that garbage. And I don't care if they say they're Christian. Baloney. They're not. God is very clear about how he considers it an abomination. That's as bad as it gets. So be aware of that stuff and don't play with it. It's not a game. God was very clear about what he felt about sorcery and all of that, and even pharmakia. Pharmakia is the word that pharmacy comes from. And so both recreational and prescription drugs are something I would be very, very cautious of. I wish I would have known the Bible better when I was practicing medicine, because I wasn't a big I never felt right in my gut to do a lot of prescribing. I was much more someone that believed in lifestyle and getting to the root of problems, which is, food and exercise and sleep. And we cannot disregard sleep. It really, really is important. Getting natural sunlight, stress reduction. I mean, all of those things I have always made a mainstay in the care that I gave people. But now that I know more about what the Bible says about pharmakia, I don't know that I would have prescribed even the little bit that I did. It breaks my heart to see people tethered to their doctors. And these statin drugs, I think 98% of the prescriptions for them are bogus and causing more harm than good. You got to remember that cholesterol is a building block for all of your hormones. So think about it. Again, I'm really asking you to think. When we started really prescribing statins at the level that we did, first of all, it didn't stop any heart attacks. That's a bunch of baloney. We got fixated on cholesterol, and we weren't even looking at cholesterol in the independent groups that they are. Some cholesterols are good, some are bad, but cholesterol is a building block for all of your hormones. Testosterone, estrogen, progesterone, thyroid. When did we start seeing low thyroid, low testosterone, low estrogen? Think about it. When? About the time we started prescribing statins. And the other thing that really, really is annoying to me is that I did women's health. I was dual board certified in women's health and in internal medicine. And when I first started practicing, women routinely got estrogen and progesterone when they went through the menopause. And there was a reason. When we go through menopause, our ovaries shut down. And all of a sudden now the adrenal gland has to pick up all the work that the ovaries did. So where 3 things, 2 ovaries and the adrenal gland were doing the work, now just the adrenal gland is. And it was kind of a sitting on the bench. It wasn't, the first, varsity team. It was like on the bench waiting to be a replacement. So for it to come in and pick up all the slack was a lot to expect. And overwhelmingly, women felt horrible. They had hot flashes. Their sex drive went down. They got dry down below, so sex wasn't enjoyable anymore. They got cranky and irritable. And it causes a lot of havoc in families. If mom's not happy, nobody's happy. You all know that. That's not like I'm going blank on the word, but anyway, memory goes. I mean, all of that. And so we started seeing, we see the skin starts drying out, wrinkles happen, then they're not happy with how they look. They put on weight, they're not sleeping. I mean, on and on and on. And with a little bit of hormones, we were fixing that and they were feeling normal and life went on. And then they had this stupid study, the nurses study, where they said that, oh, estrogen's causing breast cancer. No, estrogen's causing this and estrogen's causing that. It's bad, 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 bad. And they made it, they really came after you if you prescribed it. Well, it was a flawed study in the first place. And a lot of it depends on the route. And they weren't looking at transdermal estrogen and progesterone. they weren't looking at it, compounded. And I worked really closely with a compounding pharmacist in town, and he had been in practice for 40, 50, 60 years. I don't know, long time. And he was the only compounding pharmacy in like a 6, 7 county area. So he did a lot of prescriptions, and almost all of them were hormones. And in his entire time practicing, he never saw one breast cancer in one of his patients that was getting compounded estrogen and progesterone. The skin is an organ, and it's very, very good at absorbing things, good and bad. And it's a wonderful, wonderful way for women to get their hormones. And when I practiced, what I did was I let them determine how much. So I gave them a certain dosage in the cream, and they determined whether they applied it once a day, twice a day, once every other day, once every third day. Usually when they first started, they were using it once a day, every day, and then they would back off a little bit, and I'd add a little testosterone in there for their sex drive if that was important to them. Obviously, if you're not in a relationship, you don't necessarily need a sex drive. It's actually counterproductive. It just frustrates you, right? But, if you're married and in a loving relationship, it's kind of nice to continue that on until you die. And I had husbands in particular coming and go, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. You brought me my wife back, and she said, oh, I have this general sense of well-being, and my skin is plump again, and I'm not dry down there, and it doesn't hurt, and blah, 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 blah. I'm not leaking urine. And it was so easy, very low dose, no side effects, and the women were back in control of their life. But they made it so that was next to criminal to do. The other thing that really, really annoyed me was the same with testosterone. I had a lot of young men, especially if they were on opioids, that were low testosterone. Well, it's a Schedule II drug, and they didn't like it being prescribed. And then we turn around and now we're giving it to kids for transition. Excuse me? I can't give it to somebody who should have it that's low to bring them back to normal. I'm not talking about up above normal. I'm talking about normal levels, so that they're feeling good, so that their immune system's working right, so that they can think and have quality of life. You're giving me a hard time about that, but it's okay to give it to a 12 or 13-year-old that hasn't even gone through puberty yet? Our world is upside down. So anyways, back to cholesterol. A lot of the low hormones that we're seeing are due to things like statins, opioids, other things that people are ingesting. And I would highly encourage you to get off as many drugs, prescription or non-prescription, as possible. I don't take anything. I take a magnesium supplement because 85% of people are magnesium deficient. And it's pretty easy to know when you have too much magnesium, your stools get really loose and runny. I haven't hit that point yet, so I know that I'm still okay. But I take magnesium. If I'm doing an intermittent fast, I'm doing electrolytes like Element or one of those, liquid IV, so that I make sure that my electrolyte balance is good. If I'm going to church or to a place where there might be sick people, I will pre-dose with vitamin D, zinc, quercetin, and vitamin C. And I have one that has all of them in there. Now, I'm going to tell you something that is often missed. Zinc stops replication of most viruses, and the C virus in particular. However, if you don't take it with quercetin, it can't get in the cell. The quercetin's like a vehicle. It's like the key that opens the lock. And if you don't open the lock, it's kind of like trying to make a copy of something on a copy machine, but it's not plugged in. You need power, right? Well, it's the same with the quercetin. Without the quercetin, the zinc it doesn't get into the cell, and so it can't stop the replication. So you need to take both together. Now, I don't recommend taking zinc and quercetin every day. I don't think that's good for you. But I think it's also better to pre-take it if you think you're going to be exposed than waiting until you've been exposed and and your body's already has the virus in your system. That way, if you do get exposed. The minute that virus hits your body, the body says, yeah, you're not replicating, get out of here, and knocks it out of the system. And to date, I'm the only person I know that hasn't had the C. Now, I'm sure there's other people out there, but I'm telling you that was my strategy and it worked. And I'm just using what God has provided. They're natural, they're things that are present in food. And I think in general, you're better off getting things through your food and through the environment, like vitamin D from the sun. You can take a vitamin D supplement, but it's never ever going to equal what the sun does. The infrared light and other things that are in the sun have so much value to you that you need to get out in the sun as much as possible. So that's enough on that. On the drones, I also saw that there's a huge caravan of a train with military vehicles on it in San Diego. So that makes me think that they're looking at either going south to Mexico or maybe across the drink to Guam, Hawaii, Taiwan. I don't know. But they're mobilizing. And I watch Monkey Works, and he said that there was a lot of troop movement too. So they want war. And they want to stick their fingers in everybody else's business. So just be ready. Ron Paul was saying that there was a bill that they were trying to put in about extra surveillance because of these drones. And I told you that was coming. Luckily, it was not voted on, but they want to use this as a reason, just like 9/11 got the Patriot Act in and the FISA warrants and all of that. They are going to make chaos so that they can have more ways to surveil and move against you. Be ready. And you're not helpless. You can pray. God is awful powerful. Contact your representatives and say, no, I don't want a police state. No, I don't want mandatory vaccines. No, I don't want a vaccine passport. No, I don't want a digital dollar. No, I don't want a universal income. I want things the way they were supposed to be. I want to be able to make a living and be productive. I want to be able to grow my own food. I want to have chickens, whatever. And don't fall for registering your farms and stuff. That's another way to surveil you. I can remember it's 15 years ago or so that they wanted to track horses and all of this stuff. And I said, no. I will do the Coggins test. I will make sure that I'm not transmitting disease across state lines and whatnot, but I'm not playing your game. Registering an animal for breeding purposes, for disease purposes, that's one thing. But when it's just so that they can count how many you have, no, I'm not. Because then they decide that they're going to value your animals and they're going to value it different than what you value it. And it's none of their business. So I'm not in favor of any of that. Leave us alone. Less government, more independence. So on the drones, be aware, keep giving feedback. There were some comments about individuals that go back to research with disease and mysterious diseases in certain areas. I've noticed, I know you guys have seen chemtrails and heard some stuff on that, and they're real and they're happening. And I noticed in my little stock tank out there that I have fish in that after it rains, first of all, what has been happening this last year or so that has never happened before is I'll look at the weather report, and in less than 12 hours, it is like totally different. Like, 7 days of rain, nothing in the forecast. Okay. And then I'll look again a few hours later, and there's a storm rolling in. It's like, well, where did that come from? And sure enough, that day there would have been, all the streaks in the sky and stuff. Then after it rains, there's always some kind of residual on the water in the stock tank. It's either like a oily, like you'd see in a mud puddle at a supermarket or something, from a car, or it'll be particulate, like a dusting. It hasn't killed the fish. But I'm not so sure that some of the garden problems I've had isn't from this. I don't know. I can't say that it is or isn't. The other thing that it sure seems like is the bugs show up right after that. Like one day I'll have no Japanese beetles, and then I'll have one of those weird things, and then all of a sudden my garden is like full of them. Now maybe they're just coming out of the ground because of the rain and it's softening, and I don't know. Um, but keep a diary of what's going on in your garden. If nothing else, just so that you can, if the bugs are showing up every year on July 1st, that you can do something on June 30th, okay? Or that you're prepared for it. The kale and clay that I mentioned in the garden tour, all it is a really fine, dusty, like baby powder clay. It's not a chemical, it's like the dirt clay. And you dust it on your plants, and the bugs don't like it. They get a mouthful of clay and they don't like it, and so they might take a bite or two of and they leave. And it also stops some of your mildews and that kind of thing that will happen on your roses and stuff, and it really helps with the fruit trees in the spring. So I started using that. It's not very pretty, but it's very effective, and I don't like to use chemicals. I'm all in favor of organic gardening, but I don't like to use chemicals because I'm going to be eating that, and my dogs are out there and I'm out there, and I try to be outside as much as I can, and I just don't see a reason for exposing myself anymore. So be smart, okay? Think. And please, please leave your comments, share the videos, like them, subscribe. A few more subscribers and I can start doing lives, and I can keep these short because I'm already at 21 minutes, and I think it's easier for you if they're not long. So I'm going to leave it at that today. Keep looking up for Jesus. Also paying attention to what's going on in the sky. Have your head on a swivel. Don't be afraid, but be prepared. Have some cash. Have some food in the house should, things go crazy. Have a way to protect yourself. Know your neighbors. Belong to a church. I never was a big churchgoer, but I will say that it is comforting to have church members that I can turn to in the case of a disaster. And, it's nice to have a church family. Make sure, though, if you can, that it's a Bible-believing church. If you can't find one close to you, online is better than nothing at all. I do both. I rarely watch secular TV. I watch some news, but even then I try and watch it from a biblical perspective because it will make much more sense to you. What's going on in Syria, what's going on in Ukraine, what's going on even in Taiwan and China make much more sense if you know the Bible and how it interacts. We have at least 3 wars that are still in progress or yet to happen. The Psalm 83 war, the Isaiah 17 destruction of Damascus, and Ezekiel. And Ezekiel will not happen until Israel is in peace and unwalled. They have not been in peace since they became a country in 1947. So that one has quite a bit to happen before it happens. So you're going to hear people going, oh, Ezekiel. Yes, the stage is being set. Yes, the affiliations are happening and things are lining up, but it's not ready to happen yet. So can it happen fast? Yeah, we've seen in the last couple of years things happen really, really fast. But the one that's more likely to happen is the Psalm 83, which are the immediate countries around them that border Israel. And that will probably include the destruction of Damascus, which very likely could be nuclear. Now, it could be that God destroys Damascus. It doesn't read that way to me, but, he's definitely going to be on Israel's side because the numbers are not on Israel's favor. And even when Iran attacked Israel last year, all of those rockets came in and they were all destroyed. That was God. Don't tell me that miracles don't happen. I will share some miracles that happened to me in the operating room in another video. Miracles happen. The fact that a baby is born is a miracle. The fact that a plant goes from a seed to a full-grown plant is a miracle. If you look around, miracles are happening all around you all the time. Believe in them. I've seen healings. I've seen true miraculous. How in the world did that happen? People that were supposed to die of cancer that are cancer free when they go in for their next visit. Believe. I've seen, you don't know how many times God has found a way to bring funds into my life where there shouldn't have been funds, and taken me from what should have been destruction and put me up a level. You know, I get embezzled in my practice and I lose everything. I barely have enough money for gas. And the next thing I know, I'm living on the lake in a beautiful house. How does that happen? God. I didn't do that. And I'm not going to take credit for it. But God did that. So believe in him. He loves you. You're his child. He wants it. If you have children, you know you want the best for your kids. You want to give them everything. But you also know if you make it too easy for them that they don't develop good character. So he wants us to have character too. That's why there's tests and trials. He's checking you. He's seeing where your heart is. So trust him. Know that I care about you all. I love you. I want the best for all of you. I really want to see you all in heaven, and we can talk about how we met on this channel and what we saw and did. And wherever you are in the U.S. or around the world, your experience is a little bit different, but your perspective is important. So share, please. I'd love to hear from you. It's great making new friends, and we're all in the same family. So with that, I'm going to just say a prayer, and we're going to go for today. So Father, thank you for this opportunity to talk with people, to meet with them, to share ideas, to help each other stay safe, and to know you, Jesus. So with all of that, I say, please give a hedge of protection for all of the viewers and for myself and family, and a very Merry Christmas. And in Jesus' name, amen. Thank you. And you have a very blessed day.